Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be making Christmas Chelsea buns, Stollen swirls, whatever you like to call them. So for those who've read my blog, you'll find the ingredients listed in there. As we've said, you can remove the marzipan if you want, and there will just be Chelsea buns. You can switch out the fruit, you can leave the nuts out if you want, you can change the alcohol. It's a very, very flexible recipe. So let's get started. So, the first thing you need to do is to get your fruit, get your orange zest and your orange juice that you've already sorted out. Add in your 4 tablespoons of Cointreau the recipe calls for. And stir that up, and you're going to leave that until after the first lot of proving. So what this will do is it'll soak the alcohol into the fruit and soften them up a bit. I've gone for an equal mixture of cranberries, cherries and blueberries because that's what we like in our family. Recipe says cranberries and mixed fruit. It's up to you. Apricots, dried pears, whatever fruit you like in your family, use those. So put that to one side. So the next thing we need to do is to get our flour, our sugar, bit of nutmeg, and about 1/4 teaspoon or a couple of quick grinds of salt. And stir those through. Now, if you're using butter or any dairy-free spread, at this point you would add them in and mix the mixtures if you're making pastry to make breadcrumbs. I'm vegan, so I have gone for coconut oil. Those of you who've used coconut oil will know I would be here for absolutely ages if I was trying to mix those into breadcrumbs. So I've cheated, I've melted the coconut oil. Doesn't make any difference to the recipe whatsoever. I also use fresh yeast. So if you're using dried yeast, you'd have mixed it into these ingredients here and mix them up. If you're using fresh yeast, get your milk. I'm using oat milk, so it's still vegan. Get your fresh yeast. If you just use your hand, just the tips of your fingers, it will dissolve the yeast into there. Now this milk has come straight from the fridge, so it's still cold. Your hands will bring it up to blood temperature slowly. You don't have to use warmed milk at all. Okay. So into that, we're going to add your egg. I'm using a flax egg, which is ground flax seeds with water. If you're not vegan, just crack your egg into there. And at this point, I am going to add my melted coconut oil, just so I can mix it all together. Okay, and we tip the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. Okay. You can either use a rounded knife as if you were making pastry, or you can get a Danish whisk, which is very useful for mixing dough. Okay, once it's all virtually come together, get your fingers in there, or you can tip it out onto your work surface. So let's just get all that off there. These are very, very handy gadgets if you're making especially a wet dough to bring all the ingredients together to start off with. So get your hands in there, bring the last of it together, tip it out onto the work surface, and you're going to knead. But you're not going to be kneading as if you were kneading a loaf of bread. You're not going to be doing it for 10 minutes. You are literally just doing it so all the bits have come together. Okay, so that's all the bits. Okay, put that back in the bowl that you mixed it in. There's no need to get a clean one. Recipe says cling film. If you've got a clean shower cap, stick one of those on it. And you now leave that somewhere warm to rise for about 3/4 of an hour to an hour. That will genuinely depend on the heat in the kitchen that you're using. Okay, so we'll see you in about an hour's time. So, welcome back. An hour has passed and the dough will have risen slightly. Okay, so this time we're going to be rolling it out approximately 70 centimetres by 18 centimetres. Okay, so let's get this done. Oops, daisy, sorry. Okay. So I've already measured out my marzipan, so I know what length I'm going to. Okay, if you want to, you can add a bit of flour, but you're just doing that to stop it sticking to the table, work surface, however you're rolling out. And it doesn't have to be an exact oblong. One of the things I love about working with dough, yeasted breads, yeasted cakes, is it's not like a Victoria sandwich where you have to be to the nth degree spot on with those grams. So, okay, so there we go. Right. So, you remember the fruit we had earlier? So most of that liquid has soaked in. So we're now going to scatter that everywhere. Okay, so sprinkle that all over the dough. Okay, there we go. And not necessarily going all the way to the edge because you're going to be trimming it off, so you don't want to lose any of the filling. Okay, add in your nuts. Recipe calls for pistachio. It's a nice bit of colour. Adds also a nice little bit of sweetness and crunch. And then get your marzipan, place it in the middle. Oops, sorry, no. Place it at one end as if you're making a sausage roll. And now you're going to roll it up. Okay. Try and keep it as tight as you can. Okay, there we go. So you need to have lined a tray. So as long as your tray is the minimum dimensions I gave in the recipe, that'll be absolutely fine. If you haven't got one this big, use 2 smaller ones, 3 smaller ones, whatever you've got. And now we're going to start trimming and cutting this. So use a sharp knife, or if you want to, a dough cutter. So just trim off the ends. And you're looking for hark at me. You're looking for 12, to get 12 portions out of this. So back there is about half. Then you want 6, so 4. Okay, and then literally stack them, cut side up, into your tray. If you've got some that are slightly smaller, spread them around with the bigger ones. Okay, so you're looking for your tray to be looking like that. You're now going to cover these loosely with cling film and leave for about another hour until they've doubled in size. So we'll see you again in an hour. Okay, so another hour has passed, and as you can see, the buns have nicely risen. So these are now ready to go into the oven, 170 degrees if it's a fan oven, and they go in for about 15 to 20 minutes until golden. Once they're cooked, leave them to cool for a bit in the tray, take them out, put them on a cooling rack, and then when you're ready to eat them, sprinkle them with some icing sugar, or make up a little icing using water and icing sugar, sprinkle that on top, and you can add some more pistachios if you want. Enjoy.